Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Promo Perspectives podcast, a podcast presented by Sage dedicated to giving promotional products, suppliers, and distributors tips, tricks, and insights on how to help grow their business. This month, we've had some great episodes to help get ready for the PPAI Expo. We had Lindsay Davis and Ashley Vanderstuyf from PPAI come on and talk about putting on the show. We had Amanda Carpenter come on and talk about how to use Sage Mobile so distributors can get the most out of the show. And today, for the very first time on the podcast, we have a supplier guest so we can get that perspective on the episode. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Mike Empy, Director of Marketing from Soardist. Say hi, Mike. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. How you doing?
Of course, today we're also joined by another very special guest, first time on the podcast, my manager. Wow, hold on.
What's her name?
No, who is this? It's not just my manager. She has a title.
I do have a title, Senior Marketing Manager.
HBIC.
See, I just call you Rebecca.
Rebecca, yeah, it's Rebecca. I answer to most variations of that.
Well, today we're going to dive into what it's like to be a supplier exhibiting at Expo, which is something that we really haven't covered much on our Sage podcast or any of our other media. So, Mike, I'm really glad you came to join us today.
Thank you for having me. This is super exciting. I'm a longtime listener, big-time fan. Just want to say it's great to be here.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for the plug, Mike.
To kick us off, Mike, why don't you tell us a little bit about your history in the industry and what you do now?
Oh, yes. My history in the industry. I'm getting close to my 10-year mark, so I am not going to be as green anymore. Now I can look at all the newbies and go, yeah, I've been in the industry for a decade. No, my humble beginnings actually started here at Sage, where I was a senior supplier rep for about 7 years, and I worked with some really amazing people, got to witness some very amazing companies, and see how the interworkings of the promo world work on a supplier side, and we help them to kind of do their advertising, their marketing, build some strategy, and through a breadth of clients, I got to see how the industry truly worked from a supplier perspective. And after about 7 years at Sage, I moved on to become a marketing director at another suppliership. Worked there for about a year and a half, and then I found my forever job over at Soardist as their director of marketing. So we do all different kinds of stuff like trade shows, we do our digital advertising, we're very prevalent in the industry for our displays and our apparel, but that's kind of a brief summary of how I wound up here today with you.
Rebecca, how about, obviously I know you very well, and a lot of the people who have been to Expo have met you, but why don't you tell the audience a bit about who you are and what you do here at Sage?
Yeah, so my name is Rebecca Brown. I'm the Senior Marketing Manager here at Sage. I've been in the industry and with Sage for 12 years now, coming up on 12 years actually. So this Expo will be my 12th Expo. I started at Sage on the trade show side and moved into marketing. So I still sort of have a role on the trade show piece of it, which is why I'm part of this episode. I attend a lot of our SES Sage Event Services managed shows and help run registration, and obviously supplier relations at Expo. I know a lot of the suppliers in the industry, and we go back 12 years. Long time. Yeah, that's why I'm here.
Well, and you've both been to, how many expos have each of you been to, if you can even count them?
Well, this upcoming will be my 12th.
And this will be my 10th.
Oh, full tenure. You guys can't get fired from Expo now that you have tenure.
I want to break away real quick. I'm sorry. I gotta bring it. I brought something today.
Oh, no.
I brought something today.
You have props?
No, I did. I brought props.
Oh, my gosh.
I brought props.
That's amazing.
So this is one thing that I've accrued through my time in the industry is I have my badges of honor, and I do have a lot of trade shows under my belt. And Expo, if you could comb through all of these, I do have 9 Expos. I'm looking for my 10th one this year in 2025. It's going to be super cool. I'm going to put these away now. They're distracting for me.
I don't know.
No, it's amazing.
Go ahead and put those away for us.
I feel like a lot of our audience can relate and probably have similar stockpiles. So.
Yeah.
Some great looking lanyards in there too.
Yeah, going to challenge you all to send us pictures of your pile of lanyards.
Send them to Mike.
Make sure you send them in. We want to see them.
All right, so
we can make a collage.
Let's talk about the show itself, because now like you said, you started at Sage, so you've seen the Expo from a couple of different perspectives. From a supplier exhibitor perspective, what is the goal? How do you go about setting a measurable goal so that you can make sure your trip was a success after the fact?
I think really what the goal is for any supplier ship that's making their way to Expo and doing that pilgrimage, bringing all their stuff and showing up in front of a extremely large crowd of distributors that are in tune with the industry, the number one goal is communication. And it's a challenge because the communication that you have at Expo, the largest promotional products meeting in the entire world, is it in the world, Becca? Do you know? Is it really in the world? I think we're number one.
I think so.
Probably. If not, it's the best
sure,
one. Doesn't matter if
the
it's
best
number
one,
2 or 10.
obviously.
It's the best. But at the same time, the communication is a challenge because there is so many people on the floor, and there is so much business that circulates with each of these distributors, and everybody's walking in, walking out, and they're looking and they have questions, and it's such a challenge to take a 1-minute conversation or a quick brief blink of time to make a connection. So communication is pivotal. That's the number one goal. And the goals that we kind of set for ourselves is going to revolve around leads. Leads, everybody knows we want to scan your badge. Can we scan your badge is the question that a lot of people have. Every single booth will probably have that question. But the number of scans allows us to be able to reconnect with individuals later, allows us to take notes. It's something that's super helpful for us in our follow-up, but the number one goal is going to be communication. Every single person that we have in our booth, we want to be able to talk to and find out how we can affect their business directly in a positive manner. And aside from that, goal is to have fun. Like we roll deep. We have like 8 or 9 people that will be there with us over at Vegas, and it's a matter of, let's have some business, but let's mix in some memories. Let's go out to eat some dinners. Let's hit the networking events and talk to our distributor friends. Let's find some time to gamble. Don't lose a lot of money, but at the same time, it's a mixture of business and pleasure, and it all revolves around communicating with as many people there as possible.
How do you go about preparing your team for that whole thing? Like preparing them to have meaningful but brief conversations and preparing them to have fun but responsibly.
Yeah, we have a group meeting. All of our reps from across the nation get flown in prior to Expo. We'll usually have a little holiday meeting. We go over our directives for the year, things that are coming up that are brand new. We'll go over some more of the commonly asked questions and things that they're going to expect to see on the floor from our distributor friends if they're relatively new to the industry. But we are lucky enough to have a lot of seasoned professionals that kind of know the role, and they're there to expand and exhort and teach people and show people the answers to their questions. But we'll go over products. We'll make sure everybody kind of is aligned with what we're looking at promoting for the following year. But yeah, that's kind of what we do. We prep ahead of time with a big group meeting, and then we all just fly on out and have fun.
A side of the expo that our distributor audience probably doesn't get to see so much is what goes into setting up all of those booths, because it's an amazing sight, that show floor. You walk in and it goes beyond the scope of your physical periphery view. You can't even see everything, but it's there by the time they are on the floor. Can you tell us about some of the technology that goes into making that happen?
Oh, absolutely. The booth game is real. That is your best foot forward, because when you're walking down the aisles and you're going through Expo, I liken it almost to like a grocery store where you're inundated with about 300 products per second. And the packaging is usually what will help you to stand out. And the way that we package ourselves is we package ourselves in a booth. And the booth, I've seen all the variants. I've walked around in all the variants too, like 2-story booths, ones that are shaped like a Dr. Seuss book, ones that are just so full of like and neon lights. And it gets really fun to kind of see the breadth of creativity that's there. But our booth, the way that we kind of design ours and incorporate technology, to answer your question, is we look at how much space are we working with, and we look at, first and foremost, what are we going to have in the booth, because that dictates where you can have people, where you can have conversation. And Soardist displays and apparel, we do displays. So we have lots of very large things. We have 10 by 10 tents. We have 22 foot tall flags. We have gigantic tube displays. All this stuff is large. Apparel is relatively easy to manage, but for our booth, we look at how much space do we have on the floor pan? Where can we actually set up our displays where it makes sense to still have room for people? And how can we use the technology that we have in place to expedite and optimize the time that's in the booth? So for technology, what we typically utilize is we will use our product examples that are in the booth. We've actually integrated QR codes, and this is a twofold kind of help for the tech with QRs on pretty much everything. It makes it really easy to get information. So on all of our display items, when someone's looking at something or a rep's trying to explain or answer some more detailed questions, every piece has a tone-on-tone QR code that allows them to link directly to that product page. So whether it's a distributor that just wants to look something up and they're walking by, they get all the information, or if our rep has to answer a quick question, they don't have to go and search and go to the website and go through all the different things to find the right kind of answer. And with the people that are getting questions and answers and in exploring the booth, we do want to get their leads. So we do make it a point to actually subscribe. We have multiple licenses, which is one of the best things, to Sage ShowLink. Now, if I could be as bold to just straight up say, ladies and gentlemen, if you need lead retrieval at the industry's most leading shows here in the United States for the promotional products market, you need to look at Sage ShowLink. For only $499 per year, you get 2 licenses to be able to scan leads at all the leading trade shows. Enjoy it. You heard it here first. Sage ShowLink. There you go.
So are you going to give us permission to cut that and use that as a commercial later so we can?
I'll have my people contact your people.
Sponsored by Mike Empy.
But no, it's
Soardist.
a really good service, and we rely on the lead retrieval as like a keystone for our technology to be able to find people's emails, phone numbers, take notes on what they're looking for, and we can also use it to like message back to the office in real time to get information or quotes or stuff right away. So our focus with the technology in the booth is not only to make the experience a little bit more easy for the user experience, but also designed to optimize how fast we can work with real questions and real quotes.
And it's interesting to see the crossover between functionality, form and function, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you need those QR codes and that technology to facilitate the leads, but you said it's tone on tone, and I assume that's so it could fit the look without being overwhelming and just being
We don't
QR
want it to be
codes.
intrusive or to be like very standoffish. Our booth aesthetic is kind of fun because everybody's got their branding guidelines set up. They have their colors, they have their feel, and we use green and orange, and it's fun because it's a loud pop of color. But when you mix in like QR codes, you gotta keep with the feel. I will say that one other piece of technology that's actually super fun, this is going to be a big focus for us for 2025, is we do 3D virtuals for a lot of our display items. And you hear 3D virtual and you're like, oh, that's super nifty. Everybody does that. But we're actually working with augmented reality in 3D. So let's say you want to do a gigantic tube display with some flags and a tent. We literally have the ability to take your artwork, take the products you want, put them into a 3D mock-up that you can look on your phone, just like you would use with VR goggles or like the Quest or Meta, and you can see it on the floor, walk around it, walk under it, and we demo this in the booth. So part of that technology that we do, we save some space to put up some virtual augmented reality samples, so if people are in the booth and want to see what something would look like, well, how big is the biggest flag you make? Oh, we can show you right now, and you can see it in real time. So technology is taking it's taking bigger strides now than I think that it ever has before. It started a long time ago with lead retrieval and being able to do the QR codes, but I think suppliers are trying to find more creative ways to implement technology into their booths. And that's the one for us, is being able to show you your products with your artwork in real time, in real size and scale, from the comfort of your phone.
Talk about ways of standing out. I mean, that's a memorable and engaging experience that I don't think a lot of people are going to have at their other booths. It's a really great idea. Rebecca, you've also been you've helped set up the Sage booth. I know that these days you're probably not quite as hands-on, but you have any stories about your time at the expo, especially when it comes to setting up the booth? Because I know at one point it involved carpentry.
Oh, yeah. So I am no longer on the trade show team. Our senior trade show and events manager, Jessica Del Rio, is the one that manages our booth build, and she works very closely with Freeman to implement everything. From a technology perspective, we have a lot of stations for demos in the booth. So one of our biggest goals is obviously a lot of the people that attend Expo are already our customers, but one of our biggest goals is really to demo the new features that we release every year and really just answer questions if people come by to the booth. And obviously, if you've been interested in a website or a store and you want to see how it works, we're there to show it to you. So it's really imperative for us to have a lot of workstations basically where our reps can kind of walk you through each of those products or modules, answer your questions, show you that quick thing that you've been meaning to ask that you just haven't gotten to. And really, you can also just come say hi to your rep. But the actual booth build itself, yes, at one point in time, years ago, we actually had so our space is, I could be wrong about this, but I think it's a 50 by 60. And we actually had a booth that would travel with us. It would live in our warehouse here and travel with us to the show. From the supplier perspective or business services perspective or just exhibitor in general, we've all had those last minute, something breaks or something needs to be fixed or whatever. And so we have a good team on site that's always available to kind of address any of those issues. But for the most part now, Freeman sort of handles most of our build, and Jessica is planning for that for months and months in advance. So it's a pretty smooth process compared to years and years ago.
Obviously, the booth presence has a lot to do with the success of your show because it is where people are spending a large percentage of their time. But a lot more goes into making a success out of your trip in Vegas. What kinds of things is Soardist doing to market their presence at the expo?
Yeah, so we take advantage of the traditional channels. We utilize email, we use social media. We have our individual reps contact their VIPs and their clients that they work with that are going to be going. But I think one thing that we really try and do is we try and promote our events, because while we're there, that's a majority of PPAI Expo is not just the show floor, it's also the extracurriculars. So every year at PPAI Expo, Soardist has a party over at the Delano. We rent out the Skyfall Lounge, which is top of Vegas, top of the world. It's super exciting. Views for days, and we do food and beverage, and all the stuff is complimentary, but we use it to invite our friends, prospective clients, and we actually market that ahead of time, starting actually right about now. We're at the end of November. We've already kind of did a soft release for our parties. We're also doing networking events through like Eye Candy and a few of the other areas with our super friend group. We actually have a bunch of cohorts in the industry. Soardist as a signage and display provider along with apparel. We don't do a lot of other products like pens and mugs, traditional things and other stuff, but we do partner with other supplierships to be able to co-sponsor events that allow distributors to come in and see product, have some chats, and figure out how we all can add benefits to their business. So we do, we'll do open like networking sessions over at the bar at Eye Candy. We have our party up on top of the world at Skyfall Lounge, but we also want to make sure that we're getting people into the booth, and we try and assign meeting times. So we'll put out, through different online services, you can schedule a one-on-one to come in with your rep at this time, whatever works for you, because that trade show floor is going to take a lot of time to navigate, and time is precious. So we typically market our presence as to where we're going to be. We'll release some educational information about the products that you can expect to see and what's new coming out. But we also encourage distributors to come out and set up meetings and get their one-on-one tours. But also we do a hefty raffle in our booth. Like, we give away a lot of cool, fabulous prizes, and we'll be doing it on day 1 and day 2 of Expo, where you come into the booth, you get a raffle ticket, you come back at a specific time, and if you're there with your ticket, you might win something super exciting. Spoiler alert, it's probably going to be a iPad Pro, or it's probably going to be something cool like that. But we usually do a couple of cool trinkets. So between marketing for the show and just our presence being there, yeah, we will do that. But we also try and put an emphasis on the events that we're going to be running or co-sponsoring, and then trying to let people know we just want to shower them with gifts and amazing savings on their signage, display, and apparel.
You said the goal is quality conversation and lead generation when you go to the expo. Would you say that these networking events are equally important as the time on the floor, or more so?
It depends. I mean, the personality types from a supplier standpoint, what I would say is that when you're on the floor, you are a different person. I think that there's a lot of personal KPIs that people set for themselves to be able to go out and see every single thing, touch every single piece, or, I really want to focus on looking at this while I'm here. So it's pretty much business up front. You're still going to have fun conversations and whatnot, but I think that the after hours allows for a little bit more of an intimacy without distraction kind of scenario. People typically tend to open up a little bit more, especially at the Eye Candy, or, and they'll share some really good details, and they might really want to dive in on some specifics, whereas in the booth, your time is very limited, And with a team out there trying to talk to everybody, it's a little bit more difficult to have those longer conversations. So for networking, I think the communication level of efficiency is really, really good.
How do you balance all of that? I mean, that's a long day. You're at the show floor, and then you have to switch, modes to the different kind of socialization for the events and the networking. How do you stay focused and alert through all that?
It's very simple. All you need is $45 for a 30-ounce coffee at Starbucks, and as long as you have 2 hours to wait in the line, you'll be all right. Our team legitimately focuses on, we rotate, we take breaks, we make sure everybody gets to eat. Just so you know, from a supplier perspective, keeping in theme, my heart goes out to all the suppliers out there that are watching this right now that are the only person in their booth. You guys are warriors, and to be out there all day, every day, doing what you do, big kudos. That's tough.
Yeah.
Well, thankfully, we do have the luxury of having our team with us. So like I said, we do rotations. But to stay awake and alert, it's a matter of what you're doing on the floor to stay hydrated, fed, and it's also off the floor. Like, we all get out for our networking events. We all want to go throw some dice in Vegas, or go see a show or do something else. But late nights lead to wrecked mornings. So we try and make sure that we're as responsible as we can be after the show is completed, get some shut eye, and then also protect your voice. Like, that's one of the biggest things is all the conversations that we're trying to have, that we're initiating and getting into all these details, and all day long it's a talkathon. Throat lozenges, lots of water, chapstick, gum if you're not feeling so fresh. But it's got to protect your voice. And I will say the last thing that helps to kind of stay focused and alert and awake on the floor is just watch your posture. Distributors walk the floor and they walk miles and miles and miles, but also too on a supplier side, you stand for a long time. So it's good to do some stretches, make sure that you have appropriate shoes that feel great. Don't try and break in new shoes while you're there. That's a no-no. I've done that with boots and it ended poorly. But it's a mixture of on and off the floor, personal care. Just make sure you're sharp.
You were telling me in one of our previous conversations about a specific trick that I'd like you to share with the audience if you can. Something about your feet on the wall.
Oh, goodness.
So this is actually one of the best tips that I've ever heard, and it was actually a sales rep that used to work for Sage a few years back that told me, and I think that the lore has permeated the rest of the company because we all do this that I'm aware of. But Mike has the very technical explanation as to how this works, but essentially, at the end of the night, when your feet are swollen inevitably and just very tired, putting your feet up on the wall, the elevation actually really helps with the swelling. And it sounds crazy, but it works. And I don't know if you want to go into the actual.
Oh, man. Okay, so in a past life, I went to school to become an RN. Promo industry, where are we now? But what you're doing with the ice is in your circulatory system. You walk around all day long, and your blood will actually pool in your feet. It's called venous return. And all the movement that you do with your feet walking throughout the day is supposed to basically bring your blood back into your veins, back to your heart, and into your circulatory system. But on a marathon walk like PPAI Expo, sometimes it tends to pool, and that's why you get swollen feet, swollen ankles. It can be painful for some people, but when you turn your feet upside down and put them on the wall, you allow for that venous return to drain appropriately, and it will take away some of the swelling. You can also go as far as to, back in my very first expo with Mr. Mark Hansen, supplier rep over at Sage, who's still there. Hey, Mark. We went to the ice machine on our floor at the hotel, and I remember vaguely Mark saying, "Get one of the trash bags, we need a lot of ice." And I was like, okay. So we got a whole trash bag full of ice, filled up the bathtub, and we sat on the corner of the bathtub together answering emails with our feet in the ice like besties. So
cute.
You could do the ice game too if you want. That might help.
I actually heard that today from Lindsay Davis with PPAI, and I'd never thought to do that, but that's a really good idea.
That one's free.
One that we had talked about was, if you've been to Luxor, you know there's a Lush on the way probably. Lush has bath bombs, and soaking your feet in bath bombs is really great. But my main advice there is bring multiple pairs of shoes. Obviously, don't try to break anything in at the show, but bringing a different pair of shoes for every day. They're going to hurt no matter what, but they're going to hurt in different places. So that works out better. And then obviously Vegas is dry. The air is dry. A lot of us don't see the sun for several days. So lotion, chapstick, drink tons of water, stay hydrated, use the
Travel humidifier.
That's a good one too.
$14.99, CVS or Walgreens. Help yourself.
Travel humidifier will definitely help. And then using the reusable water bottles and the refill stations on the show floor especially. And really just echoing what Mike said, know that you are there for a business purpose. Yes, it's Vegas. Yes, a lot of us have known each other for a really long time and we all want to go do fun things after the show. But really just maintaining that focus while you're on the show floor allows you to kind of have more freedom after the show to go to the networking events. And while you are still there for business purposes, obviously those are more laid back, a little bit more relaxed, and you can have those more relaxed conversations. But just maintaining your health throughout the week is very important for longevity to make it to that last day. So going to bed at a reasonable time. I've definitely done the thing that we have all probably done and stayed up way too late, and it makes for a terrible next day, and it just doesn't work well. So my advice is stay focused throughout the week until your last night, and then enjoy Vegas for what Vegas is. But mainly, just stay on target and know that if you do your homework before the show and you talk to your clients before the show and you know what projects they have coming up, you can create a walk list in Sage Mobile, and that will keep you that much more prepared on the show floor. You know which suppliers you need to hit, what products you're looking for. You can take notes, et cetera, et cetera. And then as far as having conversations off the show floor, I think obviously those are going to be different, but still meaningful. And the follow-up principle is still the same. So even if you're having a conversation with a supplier on a show floor and you're following up about a product, you should also be following up after those networking conversations as well. You made the connection, so you want to keep it, right? So when you get back to your office, reach out to whoever you met at Skyfall or from whatever company that you made a connection with, and just maintain that relationship. And then you'll see them again at the next show that you attend, more than likely. So.
Well, Mike, and do you have any insight on that? Again, leads being the goal, what tips or strategies do you use to really nurture those leads and manifest more business?
Mm-hmm. So there's a couple good strategies that I think a lot of people implement. And I've seen this when I used to walk the floor and visit the suppliers I worked with. It's a matter of initiating conversation. There's a lot of people that are out there that will walk and look, and they can gaze on things and wander off into the nothingness or the vast sea of people. One of the strategies really is to look and pay attention not only to the people that are in your booth, but the people that are around in proximity, because people hang out in the corners and they take notes on their own, and it's like, I can see you have some questions. I probably have all the answers. We should talk. But it's not just in the confines of your booth that's important to be able to generate leads. It's what's around your booth. So looking at it extrinsically is also very important. Another strategy for grabbing leads, I feel like, is really just trying to solidify a good conversation within your booth, or provide some kind of a demo or show how something works. Typically, we'll show how our flags get put up in under 10 seconds, and we'll have one of our reps like David is go out there, hang on a tent and show how strong it is. But we like to do some demonstrations to try and perk some interest and get the conversation flowing. But for generating leads, I really think you can also use the extracurriculars as well. Like, hey, if you're going to be out and about, you should definitely come see us in the booth tomorrow. Let's talk about that project we spoke about last night, and kind of solidify things like that. But generating leads it's so multifaceted that it's preparatory. You do it before with your email marketing and your efforts to get people in the booth before they're even there. You do it while you're in the booth with your regular visitors, and you also do it after hours and from the aisles. It's a holistic approach.
And how about when you get home?
Definitely the follow-up is an entirely different game, because we encourage our reps, and everybody really should do this when you're using Sage ShowLink, one of the greatest lead retrievals of all time, that allows you to snap your notes. encourage whoever is there with you to take detailed notes. Sometimes it's not a big deal just to put something in shorthand. I know it's very impersonal whenever we're looking at somebody and we're having that conversation. And then while you're telling me what's super important, I'm over here just heads down. Yeah, that's great. Okay, I totally get that. Yeah. But it serves a purpose. 1 minute of conversation is all you need, if not less, to be able to do a substantial follow-up, because everybody goes back to their offices, everybody goes back to their sales teams, everybody goes back to business as usual. And if they have some kind of a value-added prospectus they want to give to their team, that's a Zoom meeting. Our team, we're lucky enough to have reps that travel the United States and Canada, and they go do we do house calls. Whoop, whoop, we'll show up. But we actually can take that 1 minute conversation, that one lead in our follow-up is not just limited to an email, or it's not just limited to a Zoom. We can actually be at your office and we can have a meeting for whoever you need to be there. But the follow-up it's something that is pivotal. It's very important. That's mission critical, because it not only helps the distributors and your potential customers get what they need, but it also builds trust. Nothing is worse than getting back from a trade show, having a good conversation and going, I see where you fit into my business and I want to start working with you, and then just getting crickets. That is a terrible way to make friends, if you ask me. So follow up, it should be multifaceted. It can be as easy as an email back saying, hey, let's set up some time to talk, or it can be something super intricate like, hey, I heard that your group does an end user show. We want to go and bring some end user safe stuff for you to be able to do it. Let's give you a 10% off on self promo deals for any of your tents or table covers or flags that you need, or if you need apparel. But how can we add value? And that only really kind of takes place after the follow-up occurs. So emails, phone calls, get after it. You've got a whole list of new friends that you can make. Go get it.
All right.
And don't wait. Do not wait. Right away.
Set a schedule. Stick to the schedule.
Correct.
You can actually schedule your follow-ups in Sage ShowLink.
In Sage ShowLink.
Yep. So you can
Today's
schedule your
episode is
follow-ups.
sponsored by Sage. Also, every episode of the podcast is
Of course it is.
sponsored by Sage.
Truly, though, I'm not trying to just plug a product, but it is really about the lead aspect of it, right? Because that's kind of the point of why we go to this show. That's why distributors go. That's why suppliers go, is to make those connections and to see the new products and maintain those relationships to grow our businesses, right? Regardless of what side you're on. So the follow up is the point of attending these shows. Really, if you look at it, it increases your ROI. If you go to the show, you see all these products, and then you never follow back up with these suppliers. So if you're not taking notes in Sage Mobile, if you're not taking notes in ShowLink, either way, if you're not following up with the people that you talk to, then you're losing out on a lot of business opportunities and definitely relationships too. So it's the note taking, it's taking photos of products, because we also know that 2 days later you're not going to remember what you talked about because you've talked to a million people. And yeah, just being timely with those. Of course, when you get back to the office, you're going to obviously be a little bit behind from being out for the week, but just really following up as soon as possible. Hey, we talked about this. Let's get it going, or let's get a date on the calendar when we can talk about it before everybody gets back to business as usual. So.
And that's also another thing too, is I don't know if a lot of people truly understand this, but from a lead aspect, supplierships across the board, I'm sure a lot do this, but I'm not sure if everybody knows this. But just like distributors keep tabs on their suppliers, they have their preference groups, they have their favesies, they have the ones they know they can go to and count on for this. They build their own kind of history around a company name, right? We build our own history around our distributor partners. We know who we've met. We know where we've met them. We know how often we see them at the show. All these lead reports don't just live in their own individual silos. They're part of a very big picture that shows long-standing relationships and how we work with individuals. So the lead aspect of it is important for adding value to a distributor's business, but us also identifying, who are our big players. Certain suppliers have certain levels of sales they get to, and they'll offer discounts. They might put you into a VIP group if you do enough business with them and you've done business long enough with them. But there are perks to advantageous relationships that occur over time, and it's really nice to know where those relationships spur. And for us, PPAI personally, over the past 3 years has really just been a great ROI. Expo always is the Super Bowl of the promo industry. It's the run what you brung, and it's basically first out of the gate. So we do track from our leads, like, who do we know? Who do we work with? What's our story? It's a fun one.
Well, it sounds like there's no reason to not go to Expo. I'm actually would be interested to know what percentage of suppliers and distributors don't go every year, because it seems like the place where all these connections are really made.
That's probably the ones that have warrants.
In Vegas specifically.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
All right. Well, before we wrap it up, Mike or Rebecca, do you guys have any? We kind of talked about some of the stuff with like hydration in shoes and things like that. But do you have any last tips, tricks, or hacks for surviving in the desert out there in Las Vegas in January?
So the thing that I do, and I'm hesitant to give out the secret because then other people are going to do it, but I don't actually get to see daylight much when I'm at that show. So when I'm walking from my hotel to the show, I always take the opportunity right there just past Starbucks. I go down the escalator, I go outside, and I walk outside on the patio past Border Grill, and then I come back inside and I go up the escalator and I go into the show floor. And it is just a 5-minute walk, maybe less, but it's just a few breaths of fresh air. You get to see the sunshine, and it really just starts your day off better because you got to go outside. And it's in a casino, right? So you in convention center and you forget that you haven't been outside, but as soon as you do, you can kind of energize yourself for the day, I guess. But that's kind of, other than what we've already talked about, that's kind of one of my main tips is just get outside for a minute and take a few deep breaths of fresh air, and, it'll...
Non-recycled, non-pumped in oxygen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The stuff that's natural.
Right. Don't get caught up in the Vegas experience. Just take a minute to go outside, take a deep breath. Yeah.
Mike, any other thoughts?
I have thought about this. I'll give you 2 that are good for business and 1 that is good for the soul. We're going to get really introspective here. Are you ready? So we'll go with the easy ones first. This is actually a supplier secret that I think is translated for a lot of people, but it's making waves. Big shout out to Alex from Shapenco. If you guys need pencils, talk to him. He's good. He was talking to me many moons ago at my second expo, and he said, "Man, my feet hurt." That's how he talks. "Man, my feet hurt." And I was like, "Man, my feet hurt too." And he goes, "You know what I got? I got me some of this BioFreeze stuff. This is working really good for me." And he gave me one of those little temporary packets so that I could try it, take it home, or take it back to the hotel, and I put it on like my feet, and they were pulverized, because not a lot of people know about your Sage reps. Your Sage reps for the supplier side, they are talking to all their suppliers constantly, and they never stop running through the aisles. So all of the supplier team is just in marathon mode 24/7, but they don't stop. So your feet get real ouchy. But Alex said, "Try one of these, man. It's going to change your life." So I took it back, put it on my feet, and it was icy cold. It was tingly. It was amazing, and the pain was gone. So
That's
big plug
amazing.
for BioFreeze. If you get it in a little patch or like a roll-on, that stuff is gold for walking all day. The second one is, I would say, good for business. Do not skimp on a charger. Get yourself a charger. Get yourself one of those nifty ones that might have a solar thing on the back, might have a wireless charger, but you're running around, and now more than ever, technology is implemented into our trade shows. And if you're there on business to look at things, you might still be answering emails, might still be taking phone calls, might still be, calling FedEx and UPS and wanting to be angry at them. But you got to make sure that your battery life is up so that you can continue to use the things that you use on the floor, like in Sage Mobile, and take pictures and notes and whatever you need to. But chargers, I would highly recommend not skimping out on those. Go for something super functional. The third thing, this is for the heart. Let me get a close up on this, LaFont. No, I was kidding. But this is for the heart. I've spent a lot of time at different trade shows and on the road, and one thing I think that we totally negate is the outside world. And we all have people in our lives. We might have family, we might have friends, we might have a dog at home, who knows? But it helps to ground you and helps to anchor you a little bit more to this world, to contact the ones you love, contact the ones you like. Take some time out of the hustle and bustle in the business, and make sure you touch base with your home base. I think that's super important.
Well, you guys heard it here. Call your family, call your kids, be in bed by 10, and nurture your leads. And that is how to have a
Call your mom.
successful trip out in Las Vegas. Mike and Rebecca, thank you guys so much for sitting down here with me today.
No, thanks for having me here. I love it.
You guys are
I love
wonderful guests. The expo's huge. It can be daunting, but Hopefully, if you've listened to these last few episodes and you've never been before, you're prepared on what to expect. If you have been, we hope we gave you some new insights to make it an even better experience than ever before. We are all super excited to see you there. And thank you for listening to the podcast. Make sure to head to sageworld.com to register for the next live show. We have some great episodes coming out next month. We're going to be sitting down with Josh Ellis from PPAI and Dana Porter from Sage. We're going to be talking about the Government Relations Action Committee and what we do to help represent the promo industry on Capitol Hill. Looking forward to that. Thanks again, Mike and Rebecca. Everybody have a great day, and thanks for listening.